Hi, Tim from Budget Bronco. We're ready for our next project. So, that's going to be painting of the grill. If you saw my intro video, you know that the plan is to, we're going for the retro look, like the Jay Leno 68 Bronco Resto Mod. So that means we're going to have a white grill with red letters. That's the plan. So, for the video today, I'll show you how to remove the grill. Then we'll go into the tricky part about moving the letters from the grill so we can paint them separately, different color. We'll assemble it all back together, get them painted, and hopefully we'll have the finished look that we're looking for. Here we go. As you may have already seen in some Ford videos, removal of the grill for the 2021 Ford Bronco is actually extremely easy. There's 9 plastic rivets that you'll take off across the top of this molding, and then 4 10mm bolts that will take off, and then the grill just pops out. So for the plastic rivets, you can use a tool like this or a screwdriver, and I'm not going to show you all of them because it's a little time consuming, but actually very easy. Just pop them out. The rivets look like this, 9 across the top. Once you take out those 9 rivets, this molding on the top will just pop right out. I'll set that aside. And then 4 10mm bolts. There's 4 bolts that are a little bit closer to the radiator and 4 bolts that are a little closer to the front of the car. You want to do the 4 that are closer to the front of the car. That's it. And then with the bolts removed, the grill just pops off. Just like that. So let me show you what we're looking at on the back of the grill. The grill has a whole bunch of these metal clips. That's what holds the grill onto the Bronco. There's also 5 plastic sections that are held on with looks like Torx bolts. 1, 2, 3, one big one along the top, 4, 5. I'll take those off later before we go for the painting. You'll also see these big spikes coming off the back. Those are locator pins, essentially, that put the grill right where it's supposed to go before you clip it in. But the thing I really want to show you is the letters. So you can see along the back here, that's the B, R, O, and C, O. And each letter is held onto the grill with a series of locator pins that fit through a hole, just to make sure it goes in the right place. And then what are 2 protrusions that come out the back of the letter, go through a hole in the grill, and it looks like they must have manufacturing a tool, a hot tool that comes down and pushes down on that pin and melts the plastic to keep the letter in place. So the letters have, in most cases, 2. The C has 3 such melted pins. The N has 2, the O has 2, the R has 2, the B has 2. So the next step of our process is going to be, I'm going to use a hot soldering iron and melt those melted pins, deform them a bit so that the letters can pop back out of those holes. With the grill off, I've been working on taking off the letters, and I've tried a few techniques. The initial technique I thought I was going to use is to use a soldering iron to melt these pins just enough that I could pop the letter off. That didn't work out too well. So I've tried a few things, and the technique that seems to be working best is to use a 1/4-inch drill bit to drill out the pin from the backside just enough that it is freed from the grill and can easily pop out. Now, that means I probably won't be able to use a soldering iron to melt the pin back into position after I take the letters off and paint them. So I'll probably have to end up using some plastic cement. So we'll cover that later. But for now, I'll show you the technique that I've developed. 1/4 inch drill bit from the back side of the grill. There's one. There's two. Let me show you what it looks like. Here's the end that I just popped off. You can see these are the pins that I just drilled out. Not a whole lot left of them, but the good news is it'll still fit back in there real nice. And like I say, I'm just gonna have to use some plastic cement to glue those pins back into place after I get them painted up. Also going to show you just a little bit of sanding of these letters. I'm using some 320 grit sandpaper and just kind of getting that shine off them all around the edges, along the tops. I'm not trying to take the paint all the way off down to the bare metal because the letters are painted. At least it looks like they're painted. Maybe it's just a real high gloss finish on them. But either way, having a little bit of scuff to these is going to make the new paint stick better. So just going around all the surfaces and giving them a little bit of hitting them with the sandpaper, just roughing them up a little bit. Real easy. So do that for all the letters. So for cleaning the grill, we're just going to use some regular old dish soap, and I've got it sitting on a couple old milk crates, which is perfect because the locating pins that stick pretty far out the back of the grill go through the holes on the crates and hold it there pretty steady. So we're just going to give her a quick, thorough wash just to get all the grease off. All right, nice and clean and ready to go. Painting time. This is the paint we're going to use for the letters, the red on the left, and the grill itself, the white. But before we paint, we'll be using this adhesion promoter. Essentially, it's a plastic primer. You put it on bare plastic, and it breaks down the surface of the plastic so that the new paint can adhere a little bit better. And here's the setup we're using for the letters. I've got clothespins hooked to the pins on the back of the letters, stuck into a foam block, so you can see it'll be real nice. I can get at them from all angles. The grill is on the same milk cartons, and next video you see will be a time lapse of the painting. So here we go. Okay, everything's painted. It's time to get the letters back on the grill. I'm using some JB Weld plastic epoxy and just going to pretty simply put some epoxy on the back pins and place them right back where they came from. Now, I did make one mistake, and if you're following my instructions here, I'll explain it to you so you don't make the same one. I should have covered up these holes with a piece of tape before I painted, so that the epoxy would have good bare plastic to adhere to. I forgot to do that, so I had to spend some time scraping and sanding some of the paint off to make the epoxy stick well. So it took me about an hour of time. Don't make that mistake. Let's get some epoxy on there. And then just like that. Alright, that's the process I'm going to use. I won't show you all of them. Same thing all the way across. This is truly the last step before I assemble everything back together on the Bronco. Well, I decided that as one more way to ensure the letters stay on tightly, in addition to the 2 pins, and I'll zoom in and show you in a minute, where I glued, there is this locator pin that fits through the back of the letter into the grill, and I've got my soldering iron because I will be able to melt that pin around the hole that it goes through, just to give it some extra assurance that these letters don't ever pop off. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Just pushing on the pin, melting it into the grill to give it a little bit of extra I'll do the next one over as well, and I'll show you what they look like. Might not need to do that, but just to be safe, I'll flip this around and show you what I just did. This is the pin that I epoxied, and there's the locator pin that I just melted into the grill plastic. Epoxy pin, melted locator pin, just to make sure we don't pop off. That was the final step. I'll do that for all the letters. I'll reassemble the grill. Next video you see will be the finished product. There she is. That's the finished product. I'm super happy with how it turned out. Hey, I realize that the customizations are individual and probably not everybody like it. If you don't, feel free to comment. I'm interested in what y'all think. But I'm super happy with how it turned out. It was a good project. Just give you a good look. I think it'll look even better when I get to the next project, which is going to be the rims. So, that's the project for today. Thanks for watching Budget Bronco. This is Tim signing off. Take a look at my other videos, and we'll see you next time.